Right here. There you go.
I'm calling to order the Conservation Commission meeting of Thursday, January 27th, 2022. It is 7:00 p.m. As a preliminary matter, my name is Janet Bernardo. I'm Conservation Commission Chair. I'd like to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. So, Stephen.
Hey.
Peter.
Here.
Artie.
Here.
Allison.
Here.
Great. And staff members Debbie.
Here.
And Clay.
Here.
Great. Okay. So this open meeting of the Town of Needham Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body and are available on the Conservation Commission website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each hearing on the agenda. I will introduce the applicant and or their consultant to begin their project presentation. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and please state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Okay. First meeting on the agenda, we were going to take 33 Blacksmith Drive. Does this not have a DP file number?
No,
No,
it does
bummer.
not yet.
Okay, so Susan MacArthur is here and I can hear you.
Yes.
You have other people with you.
Yeah.
John Gunther.
Yeah,
Gunther's
I'm here.
In B House. You can
She's
hear.
here. She's here as well. I saw her.
Okay. And Emily Gunther is either with you or maybe not here.
I'll
Okay.
handle it.
Got it. All right, great. So we're ready.
Okay. Hi, I'm Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting. Thank you for getting us on first. I do have another hearing. I have to leave at 7:30, but hopefully we'll be done by then. So we filed this notice of intent for a proposed addition, deck, and patio off the rear of the house at 33 Blacksmith Drive within the 200-foot riverfront area. I'll just tell you a little bit about the lot. There's a single-family home on the lot with an attached garage, bituminous driveway, 3-season porch, maintained lawn, and a picket fence around the perimeter of the backyard. The property is fairly level, but on the neighboring property in the back is Rosemary Brook, runs through the, I think it's 34 Meadowbrook Road, runs through the back there. The stream is perennial, but it is definitely in a man-made channel, concrete and stone, about 10 feet wide, with a sandy substrate. There's also a slight depressional area, wetland area, a little bit off of that. It's isolated though, it's not connected to anything. It just it exhibits some wetland characteristics, so we flag that as well. So the 200-foot riverfront area, it does extend onto the subject property in the a portion of the location of the deck and addition and patio. The 100-foot buffer, locally regulated 100-foot buffer to the isolated wetland does not, will not be impacted. So it's a non-factor. So maybe I can share my screen.
Yes. Okay.
All right, can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, the 200-foot riverfront area runs right through the house, through the middle of the house there. And then this is the proposed addition. There's a deck off of that and with some stairs that go down to the patio. So the addition is about 400 square feet and the deck is about 120 square feet and the patio is about another 400 square feet. So so the proposed addition is only going to be a 1-story, but they are proposing a full foundation, full basement. And the deck will be raised on sonotubes. And like I said, the stairs will go down to the patio. Prior to any ground disturbance, they're proposing an erosion control barrier around the limits of work. And also for mitigation, they're proposing a dry well in the yard to capture clean rooftop runoff off of the addition, and 3 rhododendron shrubs within the 200-foot riverfront area are also proposed in this back corner by the fence. And I think that's the gist of it. Does anybody have any questions?
I'll start with the board. Let's see who I can see. Stephen, any questions at this stage? So, and just for the record, we do not have a DP file number, so we cannot close the hearing tonight, but we can listen to and discuss it.
The only question I have are there any trees that are being taken down as part of the addition?
No, there's no trees. That's all grass right now. Oh, and I might add, sorry, I forgot to say this. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but there is a back porch that a portion of the addition will be taking place over. So it's that square right there. But the rest is all lawn and there are no trees that will need to be removed as a result of the work.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay, Allison?
I generally don't have any questions. I looked it up on Google and there seems to be canopy that overhang. Oh, I'm sorry, why, I don't know why it's echoing.
There's 2 people just came on with the same number. Clay might need to mute them. Okay, you can start again, Allison, sorry.
There do seem to be canopy that overhangs where the addition is. So, but if the tree's on the other property, then it should be okay. That's my only comment. It looks like, looking at Google Earth, that there are trees next to, along that property line.
John, do you want to?
Yeah, I can
respond?
answer it. There's a Japanese maple on that corner that's going to stay. There's some significantly large oaks and pine trees in our neighbor's lot that kind of canopy over that. Their branches go up over top of the kind of area. And then there's a row of, I don't know what they're called, yews that line the
Arborvitae.
yeah, arborvitaes, that's exactly what they are, that line the border between us and the neighbor. None of that's being disturbed. Really, where the addition is kind of replacing the 3 seasons porch area and just enlarging it.
So there's some rhododendron shrubs that you're proposing, 3 little shrubs.
So
Right.
back in that corner, there's a sugar maple, a large sugar maple, and over to the left, there's 2 or 3, I think they're called swamp maples, red maples, that are kind of in that corner. That corner goes down, is the closest to the wetlands area. And we could put some shrubbery down there as a buffer zone.
Do you want to think about using maybe rhodora, which is a wetland rhododendron species?
Yeah.
Just a suggestion. Since it's in, looks like it's in the.
So right behind the fence line.
Not a buffer, am I wrong?
Well, there's no, I mean, it's the isolated wetland is here.
Land is there, but it's in the buffer, right?
Yeah, it's in the buffer. The buffer is right here to the isolated.
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
But it's totally upland. It's totally upland here. It's, grass. For the most part, the entire lawn is back here.
Do you have any more, Allison? I mean, the three little rhododendron shrubs do look kind of funny just sitting out there.
Well,
And
there's
is
a fence. There's a fence around the perimeter, so they'll be up near the fence. Like 1, 2, 3.
And back behind it, just for your knowledge, it's all wooded. It's significantly wooded area all the way towards the stream. Behind our neighbor to the back and neighbor to the right where the stream is, it's all woods.
Here's the stream.
Yeah, that's all the way to us. It's kind of a wooded area. To be honest, we get coyotes and foxes that go through our backyard.
I mean, it's almost like the wetland, looks like it used to be there, but when they channelized it, it might still be because it was historically wetland, but I don't know.
I don't think it was. It's this area is just slightly depressed. It's not. It doesn't scream wetland at all. I mean, I think Clay's been out there. You can probably
under chapter
vouch for
40
that.
permit law, which means that a unit has to be counted as a.
I'm confused where this noise is coming from.
I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, okay. Allison, you have finished with your comments?
Yes, thank you.
Peter
No questions.
and Artie?
I guess I just want to confirm something, which is probably already stated, just a couple things. Like I said, it's probably already stated. So it's replacing a 3-season room. The 3-season room may or may not have had a full foundation that has a version of a foundation. Is it a version of foundation or just pillars? What was there before in that 3-season room?
It's
So
just,
What's that?
it's just pillars.
Okay, okay. And the patio is going to be pervious patio?
Is it? That's a question.
Okay, and so when I look on, just to confirm, so we understand what's going on. If we look at, when you look at it Google Earth, it looks like the backyard does have some landscaping going on. So it looks like there's a sculpted back grass area. Then within this area, there's shrubbery and and it looks, at least from what I can see, a nicely landscaped area within this area here. Then those are just going to be tags in the corner back there, and they're being included just as a mitigation because what's going on around the patio and the addition. Is that correct? That's the only reason they're doing that, correct?
John.
What's your question again? Are there?
What's the purpose of, I mean, the rhododendrons? It's fine that you're putting them in, but are you putting them in for a mitigation reason? Or
As mitigation for working in riverfront area, some plantings, we,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I just, it's always good so we know what's going on, because again, that is a very nicely, from what I can see, because it actually does an incredibly good job of giving an idea of what's going on in the backyard. And it looks like, at least the shot, it's a, nicely carved area going on back there with some nice plantings. And so this is just one of many back there. So, I mean, I don't know if it's, if there's something else that fits the definition of mitigation for that. I honestly don't know. Obviously, you guys are trying to fit the definition of mitigation as far as what's going on there. And that's the only comments I have from what I can see. Thank you.
I would say thank you. You say my lawn looks good.
Well, maybe it's an old shot.
Well, I have a couple of questions. As already noted, what is the material for the patio?
It's pavers, but B or John, maybe you can verify that. That's correct?
Yes, we can
Yes.
use impervious pavers, yes.
Pervious pavers so that the water will go through them compared to, like, you won't pour concrete You'll
Yeah.
just have stones underneath and so is there a detail for that anywhere?
We did
No.
not provide it, we did not provide a detail for that in this.
Okay, so we would like a detail for the patio. So to
Okay.
understand that you should have a good 12 inches total of all your material so that the stones actually take the runoff.
Okay.
Is the isolated wetland any chance that that's a vernal pool?
No, it's so shallow, no.
Okay, that's been confirmed. And Clay, have you been out on the site and there's no concern about it being a vernal pool?
Correct. Yeah, it's mostly just a flat, wet area.
Okay, and it's great you're putting in subsurface infiltration, dry well to deal with the roof runoff. Are there calculations for that someplace?
In the back of the report, I did some calculations. Yeah, there, I did include that.
Okay, I'll go and look at those.
Okay.
Okay, so do we need to have, and maybe this is a question for Deborah Clay, usually, and I might be totally wrong on this, calculations for work in the riverfront and the amount of impervious and the difference, aren't there usually like numbers?
I do have some numbers in the report.
Oh, is it in the report? I just printed out the one detail, the one plan. I didn't. Sorry that I. Okay, then, so what are the numbers that you're increasing the impervious area in the riverfront?
Okay, so approximately there's 8,620 square feet of the lot lies within the riverfront area. So
8,620, okay.
yeah, so this whole, like triangle here.
Yep.
And the existing structures of the property are considered degraded. So within the riverfront area, so in other words, like this chunk
Yep.
of, and this little tiny bit of the porch,
Yep.
comes out to like 550 square feet of degraded or impervious, which is less than 10% of the riverfront area at the site. The proposed work within the riverfront area will add 760 square feet of degraded area. This equates to more than 10% of the degraded area. However, the applicant is proposing the mitigation plantings, which will or should, according to the regulation, be mitigation to offset the overage for the, how it says less than 10% of the degraded area. So
3 rhododendron shrubs are the mitigation.
yeah.
Allison, you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, no,
No?
I don't think that's, 3 rhododendrons does not appear to be mitigation for being in riverfront, but I'm not in it, I think we need to discuss it. I don't know, what do you think? Is that
Yeah, I mean, they look so tiny, and maybe it's because they just
They are
look like
small, but they're little tiny.
3 little tiny shrubs.
Like they're supposed to represent a patio?
What's that?
They're representing an increase, 760
700 and something
square
square
foot
feet?
increase.
There's just no way.
Okay,
Okay.
well, I mean, what would the commission suggest?
Well,
for-
it seems like it would, and maybe if you showed the other plants that are there, it would make us be like, okay, that is a good amount of material. So it just doesn't look like enough for your increase in impervious area within the riverfront. But the general scope, I think, is good. So I think before the next hearing, if you could provide a detail for the patio and a little bit more robust planting, and it can be in that back corner, that's fine. Or maybe there's other plants there that we're just not really seeing.
It'd be nice if it was native. It'd be nice if it was native too. It
Can
would
you
be nice.
see this photo? Can you see
Yes.
that? Okay, so this is, I was standing outside the fence at the back corner, looking toward the house. So
That's the backyard. Okay.
yeah. So there's nothing really right there,
There's a tree.
There's the
There
maple.
is a tree, but I mean, the rhododendron wouldn't be interfering with that.
Okay. So, yeah, and I think, yeah, are these rhododendrons native?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're considered native.
No,
Yeah.
they're not native. They're native to North Carolina if it's a catawba, or if it's Chinensis that's native to China. So that's why I suggested a rhodora or some, in the rhododendron,
Rhodora, okay.
the rhododendron family. But it'd be nice if it was, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to plant, but catawba rhododendrons are lovely plants, but they're, I don't know. I mean, do they need to be in our plant list, Janet?
Well, I think they have to be native. I think that's the
There's lots
idea.
of choices for native plants.
right.
But I don't think they're native to the United States if they're catawbas.
Well, native to the area, native to Massachusetts would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it could be rhodora, or I can speak with the homeowners and we can come up with something. Is there a plant list on your website?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And Deb, I feel like, well, maybe do you have any comments on this? And I'm just struggling with remembering what we typically require for mitigation when it's within the riverfront area. Do we have any square footage or number of plants, or we just are okay with what they propose?
All right, so Clay reviewed this, so he probably has to add on. I think the main problem is that this is a building permit plan and not the site plan that we require. So, I think that's one issue. Yes, as far as the riverfront area goes, what was it, like 700 and something square feet of new impervious?
Yeah.
760, I think she said.
Right. 760.
Yeah, so I agree that, so 3 plantings, I think that's probably like 75 square feet, maybe for the 3 shrubs. So, so I would think that they would need a more robust planting plan.
Okay.
And then Clay can probably speak further because he did review and did do a site visit.
Yeah,
You
I
have
mean,
anything?
just to add that the patio being pervious pavers is one consideration, as well as the subsurface infiltration units. I believe they are still below the threshold for the Needham stormwater bylaw. I don't believe that the size of the addition triggers that. So when I was reviewing that, I was considering that in part also to be part of that mitigation, maybe in addition to additional plantings.
Okay, so that would be part of our findings if the sub infiltration system and the permeable patio. And then if you could just have a little bit more robust planting and make sure they're native species, I think that will do it. Anybody else have anything to add to this? Any commission members? Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments?
There are no hands in the audience.
Okay, well, we will need to, does the applicant have any questions? Because I know that I don't want to keep you. So do you want to we'll just continue it to the next hearing?
Yes, I mean, we need to, hopefully the DEP file number will be issued between now
Yeah.
and then as well.
Well, that's the goal, right?
That's
And yeah, and the detail of the patio and adding some more plantings, I think, because it is in the report. Do you discuss your mitigations and kind of lay everything out, that these are the different, it'd be nice to see it, and maybe it's there, and I'm sorry that I don't have that right in front of me.
I forgot to add about the pervious pavers, but I have a section mitigation measures and dry well, landscape plantings, erosion control barrier. So I just didn't put the pervious pavers. So.
An erosion control barrier counts as mitigation. That's
No.
stretching it. That is totally stretching it. So, okay, so we need a motion to.
Janet, are you gonna require a site plan? What are you doing?
Yeah, and then, yeah, just as mentioned, the plan that was submitted was an enlarged version of the building department plot plan. Traditionally, we require the standalone plan showing essentially what's there, but showing the not in context of the building department.
Can you make this a site plan? I think it should be, I mean, that's our standard, right? Because this should be pretty easy for you to just, your surveyor should be able to just recreate this without the building permit,
Yes.
right? Okay, I'm just like trying to decide who I'm looking at. Yeah.
Jen,
Artie, I can't hear you.
sorry, Janet, for things like this, and my apologies if it was already stated, it certainly would be useful having pictures from the house down into the backyard.
Yeah, I think
because
they're
know
in the
it's-
report, aren't they?
Well, we can really see the whole backyard going on, because I thought that
Yeah,
was
I mean,
missing
I
for some
can-
reason. My apologies.
Okay, they weren't, yeah, because are those pictures in the report? You just
I mean,
pulled
this
up-
is
I thought so, but
So we, yeah, our,
and I don't know. I don't want to spend any more time on this. Just it's fine.
yeah. So
That's fine.
one of the other pieces is to make sure that our regulations say that this needs to be a plot plan, a site plan, and not the building permit construction plan. So your surveyor should be able to just take this and put it on a regular, it could be 11 by 17, it could be 8.5 by 11, but it's hard to see because it's small. But you know, it should become like it should become bigger.
Okay.
It would make it a lot easier for us to follow along and see all of the pieces and kind of show the edge of the lawn. But maybe it's just at the existing fence. So if that's all lawn, that's fine. Okay, Deb, anything else?
There's a tree in the backyard that I saw on Google Earth, a little tree. I don't know,
A little what?
a little tree.
Little tree, yeah, you showed a tree in the picture.
yeah, the maple tree. I don't think they picked it up with survey though.
Yeah, you probably can have a pretty good idea of where to get that, where that tree lands. It would be
There's
helpful.
also some other trees to the left. There's some
On your
red-
property?
on my property, red maples. There's
Okay,
3 to the left of that playground where you can see in the picture, there's that, there's a maple right there. There's a playground, kids playground, and then there's 2 or 3 trees to the left. I think they're red maples. And then the fence is 3 feet, or it's like 3 or 4 feet in from the property line behind it.
yeah, it looks like it is on this plan.
It's like,
The fence
and
is in.
beyond the tree line, it's all wooded and that's still our property, and there's trees and other things on the other side of it. But you're right, a picture looking out from the house will show, you know, the amount
we're-
of trees and foliage that's back there, I guess.
Yeah, that would help. That would help. And you hate to have the surveyor go back out to locate trees. It's certainly helpful when they do it the first time around and they show it on the plan. And if you're not taking any down, that's great. We don't want them to all of a sudden come back and say, oh, we missed that there was a tree 2 feet away from the house. That's always a problem. Okay, so does everybody understand the plan going forward?
Yes.
So we can continue this and you know what you need to provide to us?
Yes.
And there's photo on the right here.
So I need a motion to continue. I lost my agenda. Continue 33 Blacksmith Drive until February 10th, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you very much. All in favor, Allison,
Hi.
Peter,
Aye.
Artie,
Hi.
Stephen,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
7:30, you'll make it to your next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming. Bye.
Bye.
I almost hung up on everybody. Okay, next on the agenda, 463 South Street, request for determination of applicability. And we should have Tom Schutz from Goddard Consulting. Can you hear me? Yo, there you are. Tom, you there?
Yep. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Schutz with Goddard Consulting here on behalf of the applicant at 463 South Street, and I am seeking a negative determination of applicability tonight.
And is the applicant here also?
He is
William Hunter?
not.
Okay.
Nope, he is not.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay, do you mind if I share my screen?
Nope, go right ahead.
Okay, perfect. Give me 1 second. Okay, so when we were last in front of you for this project, we were here trying to get a determination on the ditch that runs behind 449 South Street. 463 South Street, this is the property boundary here. This is our locus site. 449 South Street is where the intermittent stream is that we got the determination on last week, or at the last time we were in front of you. So the stream runs sort of where my cursor is here, and then makes a sharp turn and then goes up and empties into a ditch that's right here and into a piped area. Here's just pictures of the stream itself. You could see our erosion control barriers here that we've already set up, because we were allowed to start work on this because we were bringing this RDA to the commission. Here's just another picture of the stream just to get the commission back and the swing of things for this hearing. So here we have our site plan here and our proposed house. This is for a tear down and rebuild of a house that's existing currently at 463 South Street. You can see the footprint of the house right here, or the existing house right here. And then this is the proposed house. There'll also be some grading and some removal of trees. We have the erosion control barrier here shown in yellow. We also have a retaining wall going in shown in brown here. And the stream in question is shown right here, right at my cursor. We have the 50-foot buffer zone completely outside of the property boundary. And our 100-foot buffer zone is just clipping the edge of one of the steps that's going to be proposed, and some of the grading and cutting of trees. So I would like to open this up to the commission right now, and we are again here for a negative determination of applicability, as this is minor in nature for just grading, tree removal, and this retention wall here, all within the 100-foot buffer zone.
Thank you. And I just, my first question is, how tall is that retaining wall?
I'm not too sure. I believe that it's probably going to be 3 feet tall. It's just to hold in this grading that's here for the house. It's not going to be too tall in nature, and it shouldn't affect any of the buffer zone out here.
Okay.
If anything, it's going to keep sediment from washing into the intermittent stream.
Great. And there's a silt fence, hay bale line along that same wall, like it will,
that is
be a
correct,
silt
and
fence.
yep, that is correct. It is already in place. You can go to the site and see it. It's silt fence and hay bale.
Great. Okay, Steven, any comment or questions?
I can't really tell from the plan. Maybe I just can't see it. How many trees are coming down? Have you designated that?
It's only a few trees, so we're not building especially or right on the old foundation of the house. So a couple of trees in the backyard here, but that is outside of buffer zone. I think there might be a tree that's removed in this area, and perhaps one that's removed here, as this is in the area where the retaining wall is. Most of the tree removal is happening outside of buffer zone.
Just to clarify, the house is already down and the new house is being constructed.
Yeah.
I went by there today, so that's already happened. The trees were already removed. So we're kind of talking present time, not in the future.
So does the wall, the proposed wall, does that follow the eastern boundary of the lot all the way down to the road?
That is correct.
So it looks like that wall goes through several trees on the plan.
I think that's just the way it's demarcated. This is the canopy here. It's not necessarily the trunk of it. So it could be running right between these two trees and not necessarily impacting the critical root zone of the trees itself.
But if it's like a 2 or 3 foot high wall, wouldn't it bury the trunk?
It might bury the trunk, but if it's within, or so the critical root zone is broken up into 3 different sections. The inner 1/4 of the critical root zone, and it's determined by the DBH of the tree. The inner 1/4, so if we're saying that this is a 14-inch DBH tree, it's only going to be around 2.5 feet where the actual root zone is extremely important. The rest of it is you don't want to grade on top of the root zone or remove 50% of that. And we're not proposing any removal of any of these roots, and we're not going to be grading within more than 2 feet.
So you're saying all the trees along the wall are staying? They're still
I do
there?
believe so. I can clarify that after this, if that's just going to be a special condition, but I do believe so. Yes.
Okay.
And the
You
trees,
have a-
trees in the back, those are already
The trees in the
removed.
backyard have already been cut.
But those
So
are outside
those-
of our jurisdiction.
No, no. You
The
see
one
the
around
blue
the
line,
line.
the blue buffer line going through
They're
there?
not outside.
They're not outside. There's like 3 or 4 trees inside the 100-foot buffer in the back of the house.
Is there a proposed planting plan that goes along with this landscape plan?
There is not, as this is an RDA.
Okay.
The cutting of trees is not going to affect the buffer zone or the wildlife habitat per se, because this was existing yard and this is a degraded lot in general. So I don't believe
But
that the removal of
we have a 2-to-1 tree replacement policy for removing trees in our buffer zone.
If you would like, we can put together a planting plan with a negative determination of applicability. I can send that into you at a later time.
Debbie and Janet, question I have is, this project had come to us before, at that point, you're coming to us, because, what type of permission are we giving? What are we going to allow, not allow? Did we know those trees were allowed, already cut down then? Were they not cut down then? Were they cut down after
So,
you came to us before?
We received from Goddard a letter saying that there was no jurisdiction within 200 feet of this property. And so they had already started cutting down trees and doing all of that, but I knew that there was jurisdiction in that area based on other properties. So we went out there and we had them file an RDA for us to make a determination if there was jurisdiction or not. And Janet and I went out there and determined that there was jurisdiction. So we said they could either take back that RDA and file a new one with the jurisdiction on it, or you would issue a positive determination requiring them to file a notice of intent. So they chose to give us a new RDA showing that that is jurisdictional and have the buffer zones on it. So they started cutting trees and everything based on the thought that there wasn't any jurisdiction within 200 feet. So,
Just to clarify, you did also say
and-
that our applicant could continue work on the house. That's why the house is torn down at this point, at the last hearing.
mhm.
And Deb, do we know the trees? Do we know the degree of the trees that were cut down? Quantity,
No, they were gone. They were gone.
Sizing, we don't know anything about it? Okay.
No, that was kind of this RDA was for them to present, the work that did take place in our jurisdiction.
The size is not listed on the plan right here.
It doesn't look like the DBHs of the trees are shown on this plan, but that can be something that I'd bring to the commission if that sees fit.
I know I did talk to the builder when I was there, and he stated that he did plan on planting a lot of trees back there. So I don't know if he has another plan showing the landscaping or
Yeah,
not.
that's what I'm thinking. I mean, a house of this scale is gonna have a pretty robust landscaping
Mhm.
component. So there's, I mean, even if there's no hard plan, there's gotta be, somebody has an idea of, what's gonna go on this property, and I think it would be beneficial to the applicant to show us that.
Mhm.
And again, I'm not, and I would rely on Deb and Clay, if you guys have been out there. I mean, I drive by the site every once in a while, but I haven't really been out to the lot. I mean, it just appears like that wall on the eastern border is going to impact some more of those trees, and those trees are still there. Deb, you think?
Janet's been out there as well.
Yeah, we were looking at the stream and not at the edge. I actually didn't know how far in he was, but, okay, anyway. I think,
Also, Janice, excuse me, Stephen, when you're thinking of robust planting plan, do we envision that's more of a robust planting plan within, 3 or 4 feet in the perimeter around the house, for example?
Well, again, I don't know, but I can just imagine this house is pretty close to that eastern lot line. And I got to think, if this was my house, I would have like a line of arborvitaes or some other screening, maybe along that edge, against the wall.
yeah, the area that's where the north arrow is, that's all like wooded. That's because that's just, it's somebody else's backyard, but it's all wooded.
So it's pretty thick out
Yeah,
there.
that area has the conservation restrictions
Okay.
to the left and the right of the stream channel.
No more questions.
Okay, Allison?
Well, I'm disappointed in this project. I just don't think that, I don't know if it was, I just disappointed in how it's gone. And when I look at this grading plan, every single grade is changed. And you were implying that all those trees are going to remain. And that wall goes right through the middle of those trees. You're filling, you're cutting. It's just, I'm presuming that most of those trees along that wall are going to die. And I think that you didn't have to be graded that way. Every single grade has been changed. So it's not like you're meeting existing grades to preserve the trees. Like 113, 112, 111, 110, all those, they're all new grades. Some of them are somewhat close to the existing, but they're not the existing. So you're filling and you're cutting on top of all those trees. So it's not just the trees that were cut down before an RDA was given. It's that those trees that are implied that they're going to remain are probably going to die. So
Allison, just to clarify, most of the grading will be taking place outside of buffer zone. So everything over here is outside of jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the buffer zone.
And this is only going to be a foot of grade added to it. And
You
the
can't add
critical
a
root
foot
zone
on top of trees. You can't do that. You can't do that.
The
I'm a
critical
landscape
root
architect.
zone, you can add 2
No, you can't.
2 feet
No,
of
you
grade on
can't.
top of them.
No, you
If you'd
can't.
like to supply critical
you
root
can't.
zone
No, you
analysis
can't.
for some of these trees, I can provide that as well.
I strongly disagree. You can say whatever you want, but I strongly disagree. I have 40 years as landscape architect, and you cannot fill a foot on top of a tree, especially pine, if they're pine, especially maples, especially, and maybe 6 inches on an oak, and you're cutting, you're destabilizing, it's just, you don't need to grade it that way, for one thing. It's just making it look like a lawn. I think they're hoping that the trees are going to die. That's what I say when I look at it.
So Allison,
I'm not trying to be argumentative.
we can say no, correct? I mean, can't we say no? No, we don't accept it.
So you would issue a positive determination, which would require them to file a notice of intent.
I would just like to say on my own word that I did tell the applicant that if they came back with a request for determination of applicability, we would be able to grant them a negative because of the whole conversation we had about the stream and the ditch.
It
So
sounds like something's changed.
what's
Something's changed.
changed is now we
presented
can
to us.
really see the house,
Yep.
but I do feel like I made a
But they,
statement.
but they didn't, but we weren't shown what was happening with the trees. But we're being told something that is unlikely ever going to happen, and that's trees that remain healthy and alive. So
Well, I
that,
think we're gonna have to request a
that
planting
negates.
plan to go with this. I mean, I'm seeing the
Okay.
113 contour
Janet.
goes over the 109, it's 4 feet of fill.
But Janet, even if you said that you thought you might be able to, and you would want to, it's not, the commission didn't give a ruling,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's no
It's not
bind.
official. It's not
There's no,
official.
there's no binding word there, Janet, even for yourself. Is this was not what was actually going to happen was not known, and was not what we were probably ever expecting. So I would not.
I mean, if it got a notice of, non-applicability, that would be one thing. Then we wouldn't even be having it in front of us, except for to agree that it's not binding. But this plan, it shows a buffer zone.
Well, yeah, the buffer zone is, so they're 75 feet away from the wetland. They are removing, I think we can say that they are removing a number of trees within the buffer zone, and that they need to replicate for the trees that are coming down within our jurisdiction.
So Janet, with a negative, then we aren't going to get any monitoring reports. They're not going to have any conditions that we're going to have to make sure things survive.
I don't see how we can do that. There's been grave concern about what's going to happen with those trees and the wall and the fill, and Allison with her, the experience she has, and I don't see how we can let
And
this
it
one
can
go.
be regraded in such a way that you don't have to have such an impact. They just wanted a pretty smooth little slope there.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
Where are you grading it this way? Whether your grades are outside of our jurisdiction or not, you're killing every tree on the lot. Are they already all gone? All those trees are gone? I guess they are. I've driven into that driveway and they're all gone.
Yeah, so the ones in the front yard right here are gone because this was where the excavation took place. So these two, I believe, are gone, and there was an excavator here where the tear down and rebuild is.
What about the other side?
These ones right
Those
here are
trees.
small, are small here. I don't know about those. I can take a look at some point in the future to see exactly what's happening with these ones. But again, these are outside of buffer zone.
I would say even in the worst case scenario where the trees in the 100-foot buffer on this property are removed, just assuming that they get removed, I think the applicant could easily demonstrate 2-to-1 replacement of the 7 or so trees based
Actually,
on
9. There are 9 in our
coordination with the property owner. I think that would be very easy to demonstrate.
I mean, because I guess I'm back to, if they came to us with a notice of intent, we would require replicating of the trees within the buffer zone there's one, and I think that there's 1, 2, 3.
There's
4,
9.
9. Okay. 9 trees that are between the 100-foot buffer zone and the property line that are likely going to die because you have a wall
And regrading
and the regrading.
I think we've seen this rodeo before.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Tom, Goddard Consulting is like prime for this stuff, which is really infuriating. But I mean, I still feel like we could have, if they came to us with a notice of intent. The difference is but what's the difference besides the monitoring? The difference is
Don't kill the trees.
notifying notifying of butters?
They would have to come back with an as-built plan. Right?
Okay.
So seeing how the retaining walls are built, what the grading ends up being.
Don't they have to give an as-built to the building department? Anyway,
Do you want a building department as-built?
well, I know that you guys don't agree with me.
Did
but
I miss something that wall is already built between the trees? It's already built?
Not already built.
It's already built?
It's not
No.
already built.
Oh, it's
No.
not, okay, okay, so there's no, okay. So we still have an opportunity to save, to make this something that would be acceptable to us. We don't have to accept this. We don't have to accept that basically all the trees are gonna be taken down on this lot.
Well, we only have jurisdiction in a very small portion of the lot already, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's focus on that. And I would add too that, we've had this issue before where, there's gonna be even if these trees were to remain, they'd be very close to the existing house. And then we always have that conversation about somebody comes back later and
Oh,
they
yeah.
say, oh, it's a hazard tree.
Oh, yeah.
It's real close to our house. So I would make the recommendation, okay, take down those trees that are very close to the house and and I would like to see the applicant, I think it would behoove them to plant them somewhere else farther away from the house. And it may be slightly outside of the 100-foot buffer, because in this case, there's very little buffer in this property. So I think planting trees in the backyard on the other side of the wall, towards the rear of the lot, even if they're a little bit outside the buffer, I think still is, meets us halfway and provides some benefit in the overall habitat.
I mean, I think when we are doing like a wetland mitigation that needs to be, a wetland mitigation needs to be robust and it needs to be survive. I feel like the trees that are so close to the house and so close to the buffer zone area, if the homeowner, if they die, they're wasting money and they have this beautiful home. Why do they want dead trees in their backyard? So I just am not overly worried about monitoring of trees that are 80 feet away from for this particular house. And I feel like I feel badly that I gave my word on something. And so that's where I'm at. And don't appreciate having my hand forced on something, and I'll remember this in the future. But Peter, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, this is, this is unfortunate in a lot of ways because I think they started doing this without doing due diligence around the buffers, the buffer zones, and then went ahead and took down trees and started grading and I don't know. I mean, part of me feels like that means that maybe we have an opportunity to weigh in on this plan before anything else happens, particularly around so I'm kind of in agreement with Artie that if people came to us before, if this was the typical process, that we would have something to say about the grading. We would have something to say about trying to save trees. We'd have something to say about that. And so it's strange for me that this is being taken as a done deal. And so I'm kind of much more in the notice of intent framework in thinking about this, particularly because I think, as Deb said, we can ask for a planting plan, but we really then have no control over what actually gets planted and what stays there. And going to demand, for example, native species, how do we know that's actually going to happen? So I'm leaning towards the positive, to be honest.
Again, I would like just to clarify that our applicant was allowed to continue to build with the last RDA that we filed. The commission did allow our builder to keep going. So it wasn't like he stopped or anything. It wasn't like he did stop for a period of time while we were in the last RDA process for the stream determination. We were allowed to continue to build this house.
Well, we're not stopping
Yes.
you. We're not stopping you
Yeah,
from building the house. Yeah, we're not
And the
stopping
house is
that.
really outside of our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, we're
house
not-
is really outside.
Yeah, we're
But
not
the
stopping
grading
that.
does come alongside of the house itself.
Disagree. It can be regraded.
Yeah, that's not a particularly strong argument. Artie, you have anything more to add?
No, just, I mean, I think it's clear what we should do in this one. And Janet, you should not feel of any conscience of wrongdoing or anything like that. And just, I wouldn't, and just do what we know we need to do.
Allison?
Yeah, I think that there needs to be, more attention to those trees along that edge and the wall and everything we spoke of before.
Stephen?
No comment.
And is there anybody in the audience that has anything to add to this?
There are no hands.
So are we ready to make a motion?
I think so.
I'll take whatever motion you want to give me.
So the motion would be a finding of a positive, the applicability aspect. Is that what we're talking about?
It's your motion.
Yes, if you want to require a notice of intent, then this would be a positive.
Yeah, I make a motion that we find this as a positive. And proceed for a
for a
requirement
second.
of a notice of intent.
Have
Second,
a second? Okay, all in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Stephen.
aye.
I'm voting no. But the ayes have it, so.
Before we leave, for everybody that voted for the positive determination, how would you like to see these trees here saved in the notice of intent so we can once and for all finish this process? Because I don't
Allison?
want to have to bring another plan to this and then we just get denied the permit because our mitigation isn't good enough.
Again, for me, I'll just speak for myself. I don't necessarily need you to save those trees because again, I think they're just going to become hazard trees in the future. Someone's going to say, there's a 50-foot tree right next to my house. And if you're going to build that wall, I think they're going to come down anyways. And I would rather see plantings farther away from the house, like I said, to the rear of the lot. That's just my own take on this. I'll let somebody else speak.
Artie, you have something you would like to see specifically?
Well, I
Or
mean,
Allison?
I think Allison, you had the strongest understanding of what should happen as far as the grading of leaving it be, so the trees can be, left alone. And that being said, we still have some trees that were taken down, and mitigation has to be taken into account because what's been taken out. Steve, I understand what you're saying about if we deal with it now, then we can have some other trees being planted. I'm a little concerned. I agree that if there's no room within our jurisdiction, we say, well, at least put them outside our jurisdiction. But we both know that what that means outside our jurisdiction. We have zero say, period. We have no say what's ever going to happen outside our jurisdiction, I think. But I understand why you're suggesting that. But Allison?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to design it for you, but I think that there are two ways you could go. One is you could acknowledge that that wall is going, and the fill is going to kill the trees, and then you replicate them, according to our guidelines, 2 to 1, and there's a list, et cetera. And if you want to keep that wall and want to try to save the trees, I mean, I don't think that they're going to make it. I think you'd have to regrade. You can't fill like that. You'd have to have a steeper slope on that side of the house that pulls back, and you don't have a wall where those 1, 2, 3, 4 trees are, 5 trees are. But if that's not acceptable, and then you do what Steve suggested. I think there are options, and that's why you have an engineer or a landscape architect do the design, which I'm not going to do for you. But
No, agreed. I just wanted to get
the owner doesn't want to have it look like that, so that the trees are saved. And anybody who knows their salt knows how to do it. And some are going to be lost anyways, because it's going to be a little more difficult. You'll have a steep slope. Then if you don't want to do that, then you acknowledge those trees are going to go, and then you replicate them. So that's kind of the process of thinking. And if you have a reasonable, way of thinking, like the owner wants to be more flat, et cetera, and we want that wall there, then acknowledge that those trees are probably going to die and be destabilized, and then you replicate, and we would accept that. We wouldn't reject that if it's done with the proper numbers and and native, et cetera. So that's how it works. It's not rocket science. Happens every time we have a Concom meeting. People come and have a plan of how to mitigate.
So if the trees are coming down, it's a replication of the trees that are within the buffer zone that are being.
And can I just clarify, maybe for Tom's benefit, what if, we'd like to have 2 trees for every tree to remove, but often we will substitute shrubbery as well, right? So is it 3 shrubs for every tree, or is there a rule of thumb that we've used from the past? 4?
4.
Okay. So again, Tom,
4
you have an
shrubs for a
option of smaller shrubs, maybe like I said, arborvitaes or something like that along that property line. You could put 20 in there and totally cover yourself, maybe. I don't know, but just think about that.
Yeah, there's probably a planting plan that has been thought about for this homeowner. Maybe they haven't totally decided yet, but it could be, it would be useful to, I guess, necessary to include that in your application.
And there are examples of what that looks like in many other projects. I don't know if they need to see an example. I mean, I can't believe this is the first time this has ever come up. Is it?
No, I didn't need an example. I just wanted to know what the commission wanted to see from the notice of intent, really. I didn't need a rep or an example of a planting plan. We do a lot of those weekly. So just wanted to get a representation of what the commission wanted to see. So next time we come back, we can finish this up.
Yeah, basically, either clearly being able to save the trees by not putting a wall through them, and adjusting the grading so that it's not 2 feet over the tree roots, or replicating the trees per our policy, which is 2 trees for every 1 tree removed, or it could be 4 shrubs per 1 tree removed. Is that what we said? 4 shrubs for 1
Yes.
tree, or 2 trees for 1 tree. All right.
Yes.
All right. So we made a motion. We're done, right, on this one? All right.
Yes, we already voted. We already voted on the motion.
We're all voted. We're all ready to move on to our next one. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Tom.
Next one. Next one.
I keep wanting to end, leave. All right. I keep going on my own.
Hey, Janet, it does seem like you're a little tired, just to state this, and it does seem like a little tired.
I am a little tired. I've
So
had
take-
COVID for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So when
Uh,
when we end this meeting, just make sure you get a lot, like, you're drinking a lot and take care of yourself and get to bed early.
Yeah,
So drink
Thank you.
drink a lot of fluids.
okay, we have a DPW general maintenance notification form. Is there anybody here to talk about? Is there somebody in the audience that we should be trying to deal with instead of other things? Or are
I
there,
think, next it would make most sense to go with the MWRA siphon junction structure discussion.
okay, thank you. All right, MWRA, do we have people, Kleinfelder, something, Michael Cunningham? You can hear
Yes,
us? You
I'm here.
Okay, great, thank
Hi.
you. And who else? Milan is also here. And, but not, there's no Rebecca Weidman or Michael Go.
That's correct.
They're
It's
not.
just Milan Horbaczewski and Mike Cunningham.
Okay, great. So Ed Olson is not coming in from Park and Forestry, is that true?
I
Just an
told
aside.
him he didn't need to,
Okay, okay.
based on
Great.
the project.
All right, so, hey, we're ready for you.
Okay, great. And yeah, if you don't mind, I'll share my screen.
Yep, sure.
Let me see here. One sec, just clicking the button. It should go over. Okay, so hi all. My name is Mike Cunningham. I'm a project manager with Kleinfelder. We're the MWRA's consultant on this project. And joined here with me is Milan Horbaczewski. He's the MWRA's project manager. Mike Gove, who's environmental analyst for the MWRA, couldn't be with us tonight, but he was intending to. So I'll just give you a background of the project. So the MWRA submitted a letter to the Conservation Commission back in November seeking a maintenance exemption for this project as it being rehabilitation to an existing set of sewer structures in the town. The background of the project is that MWRA has various siphons throughout its wastewater system. These are depressed sewers that go typically under rivers to allow it to still flow by gravity. So it looks like a U shape. But on either side of that siphon pipe, there are structures that allow basically access to the ends of those siphons pipes for inspection and cleaning. And they're pretty critical because they're the only points of access for this sewer, where it goes under wet areas. The systems in the, Metro Boston area range from, late 1800s to early to mid 1900s. So they're quite old. MWRA decided to do a study in the late 90s and looked at all 150 of these in its wastewater system and revisited it now to prioritize the top 40, which mostly are ones that are at the lowest elevations, lowest lying, most vulnerable to flood inundation. Some of them, had other extenuating condition, issues that got, moved into this priority bunch. So this project is a first phase to address the top 40 structures that are the highest priority. There are 4 sites in the town of Needham. And the work consists of interior lining, for structural and water tightness, replacing the top slab for many of these where there's planks, concrete planks for access that have gaps between them and they're deteriorating. So the goal is to replace it with a brand new precast concrete slab that has a modern access hatch that's watertight, provides better access, better flood protection. Those are the 2 biggest things, the interior lining and the top slabs. Also just general, exterior parging, sealing of interior cracks, where there's manholes, replacing those with watertight locking ones. So that's the type of work going on the structures themselves. There's no excavation planned. It's mostly interior, and the exterior work can be done, just from ground surface by personnel. Another challenge of this project, though, is many of these are in remote areas. So with that, there's proposed access improvements. For the ones in Needham, I'll go through them individually. The access may consist of two things. If it's not practical or feasible to, build or improve the access into, say, like a gravel road, it's just temporary access to facilitate the work during the project. There are some locations where MWA operations said, hey, we need better access. This is critical. We don't have very good access. And so for those, we're proposing a 13-foot wide gravel access road. In some cases, the whole distance between public way to the structure. For other sites, it's just partial where vehicles can't, get there for maintenance. The maintenance that MWA wants to be able to do is be able to come ideally with their Vector truck and get it close enough so that jetter hoses and vacuum hoses can get in so they can do removal of sediment, cleaning the pipe, pulling sediment out of the structure. That's the ideal situation. And so we have, with this letter, we've identified the sites that are in the town of Needham. And there are 4 different sites. I'll show you the locus maps, just give you a sense of where they are. So we had a meeting in December with Clay and Deb, just to give an overview. I'll kind of give a similar thing here and kind of give you a sense of what's happening at each site. So the first one is off Edgewater Drive in Needham on the Charles River, Dedham line. The road just to the north is Dedham Avenue, coming in from 95 from Dedham. And so this property off Edgewater Drive, there's a rear property. There's a town of Needham sewer easement heading down the driveway, shown by the kind of east-west green line here. And that's the proposed access route. Kind of updated since this map is a dashed darker green line. That is a continuation down the easement to an MWA easement that runs north-south on the bank of the Charles. And that would be used for access to get to the structure, which is the yellow triangle. That structure is sort of the terminus of MWA's sewer system. And so the Needham
Can I just interrupt you? So the access easement is a wide, basically a wide open cleared grass, or it's maybe driveway, somebody's driveway. So it's not wooded in any way. You're just going to have your truck pull in there along the wide open grass easement.
Yeah.
And
well, it varies. Janet, it varies from site to site. Some of these easements have been well maintained by MWA over the years, meaning that, their grounds crew comes in and keeps it clear. Others have just been not visited in a while in the more remote parts of the system. And so the easement has trees growing in it, or shrubs, or, bushes. So they vary. And the amount of clearing and tree removal at each site varies pretty widely.
This is Milan. I was wondering, can you hear me? This is Milan calling in.
Yes, we can.
Yes. I'm sorry. Milan Hrbachevsky, MWRA. I've had a hard time getting into the Zoom call. Yes, as Mike was saying, a lot of these easements that we have not been maintained properly over the years. So the growth that's within them should never have actually been there. So we're coming back to a few of these sites that there may be some growth from the last 10 or 20 years where we haven't removed or kept the easement as clear as it should have been. And so that's a big part of what we're doing here in rehabbing these facilities, is also making sure that our easements are back to being cleared for proper future maintenance. So I just wanted to add that once again, we are encountering some trees and shrubs that shouldn't have been growing there to begin with. And so that's part of what we're doing in clearing these easements for construction and for future perpetual maintenance.
So are you clearing your entire easement from edge to edge?
Not necessarily. Depending on what we need for this project, we'll try to minimize the activity as much as that we can. But theoretically, the entire easement could and would and should be cleared. But we're obviously willing to only utilize what we really need for access. Some of our easements are wider than others. We've got some that are 15, some are 20, some are 50, depending on where they are in our system. 50-foot width is typically not necessarily needed to be cleared. So we'll do what we need to do for the construction activities and to to get a Vector truck into these facilities, which is a large, sort of I guess, think of a 10-wheel dump truck type size vehicle to get in there and clean these siphon structures, perhaps on an every other year basis.
Are you at all concerned? The vac truck is a pretty large truck. It's a heavy truck. Is there a concern about the ground being soft? Is there what happened? Like,
Yeah, no,
or-
that's a good question. So in general, the Vector truck, when fully loaded, does weigh a lot. And we've looked at each site and then coordinated with MWA's operations division to decide which sites should have a new gravel access road built and to support such a thing, and other ones where, we'll, due to the ground conditions, it's best to approach as close as we can and not build a gravel road all the way in. So this site here there's not a proposed gravel road. There, to answer your question before, where we're not building roads, we're proposing a 15-foot wide access corridor to facilitate construction. And then, as Milan said, the perpetual, future maintenance. This one, because there's not going to be a road built, MWA will just, bring the Vector truck, coordinate with the property owner, and then bring the Vector truck as close as it can and stretch hoses. Other, vehicles would have to be used at this one. Like you could bring in an MWA, a smaller vehicle closer to the structure without building a gravel road. So it's a combination of just looking at each site, the site conditions that exist, looking at the practicality of building a gravel road versus having just a cleared corridor that enables smaller vehicles. And so this, each one's a case by case basis. This one has no proposed road. We're providing clearing to that 15-foot corridor up to the structure to allow construction equipment to come in, and then allow, a different type of maintenance where, the Vector truck would be brought close, hoses would be stretched, or smaller vehicles would be brought up closer in the future. So that's what's happening here at this one.
So, and is this structure is just being cleaned out, right? The structure, is that what you said? The structure is just being cleaned. You're not.
The future maintenance is for cleaning. The project will be happening when it occurs. There's probably at each site, there's probably 3 to 4 weeks worth of work that consists of that stuff I mentioned before. Interior lining, spray applied interior coating. That's a liner.
But you're not digging, you're not replacing the entire structure and
No.
digging it out.
No.
It's many of these are in
all of the
good
existing
shape.
structures. Yeah, all these structures will stay intact. We're not doing any excavation around them. We'll be working, within and also on the roof slab, and replacing hatches and that kind of thing. We'll be doing some interior pointing work if some of it, the pin masonry requires it, and an epoxy lining, so that we can get another good 50 years out of these. The hydrogen sulfide from the wastewater it tends to corrode the interior of these facilities. And just so it's clear, I'm not sure if Mike explained earlier, but the siphon structures, convey wastewater underneath the river. In this case, in Needham, beneath the Charles via gravity. So there's always a structure on either side of the river. But no, we're not replacing them. We're not doing any major excavation around them. Nothing of that sort.
You just have to get the equipment there, do
Yeah.
your thing, and then take it away. And then 2 years, you're going to come back with a vac truck and suck it all this stuff up.
Yes,
and maintain it. Yes. Mhm.
Right. Okay.
Can
That
I
is the
just ask a
plan.
quick question?
Sure,
Sorry.
go ahead, Debbie.
So have you already approached all of these homeowners with the easements to let them know about the clearing and
No,
all
we
of that?
felt we wanted to approach conservation first, to get the project out there, see if conservation supports a maintenance exemption, and get those preliminary approvals in place. And then we'll talk to the property owner about use of the easement, scheduling, duration of the work, those types of things.
Okay, and also, I know we had asked you to forward the information to the town manager's office, and I think it's gone out to other departments. Have you had any feedback from any other departments or?
No feedback from the town manager's office. We did
Okay.
supply information for them, but we have not heard back from anyone with any kind of comment.
Okay.
Not from the town manager, nor the town engineer or anyone else.
Debbie, they
Okay.
received the same, I just forwarded the same exemption package letter to the office of town manager address. I spoke to them first, let them know it's coming, and then used the OTM at Needham, which they suggested that I do. So they have the same level of
Okay.
detail as,
I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
yeah.
And I have one more question, I'm
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
You said the solid green line, I thought you said was the MWR easement, and the dash green line is whose easement?
No, sorry. The solid from that point at which the dash sort of breaks off of it was an initial sketch just on how we got in there when we did our initial site visit. But after doing easement research, the dash green line really represents the easement. So the easement continues in a straight east-west and then turns 90 degrees north and follows the property line. So that dash green is the easement. That's the one that's substantially cleared. If you go out there today, it's substantially clear. We have generally a pretty good corridor to be able to get that equipment in there.
Okay, so
And
that's the one you'll use, not the other.
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks.
We did look
Sorry.
at alternatives, of course. You know, to the north, there's a wetland area, kind of where it says the S for structure O. There's a little wetland area. There might even be a stream up there. So we wanted to see if there was alternative access to avoid this private property. But in the end, this was the best way. And the town has its own sewer easement too, coming down from Edgewater. So it seems, from a legal perspective, the best all around option.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I can move on to the next of the four, unless there's any other questions about this site. Okay. So moving on, this is off Chestnut Street near the Charles, where there's a current residential subdivision going on. When we originally did the wetlands delineation and the survey and the initial site visit back in 2020, there wasn't any of that, but the property owner let us know. Now, when you go out there, it looks very different. There's a cul-de-sac sort of where the dash green line in the center of the screen breaks off. So we're in coordination with the property owner because MWRA sewer runs across various large parcels out here, and the structures are off to the east on the bank of the Charles. Ultimately, there is a nice clearing into those structures today that this site doesn't really require clearing. It's more that we want to build an access road to ensure that in the future, whatever the configuration of the proposed subdivision underway, that the MWRA has a way to get vehicles in there. And so we'd like to build a gravel access road really just for the last couple hundred feet leading up to the structure. We looked at this one in detail with Clayton and Deb on our prior call, because there is a little bit of grading to support that. And there's a permanent alteration of wetland here that amounts to a small number. I can look it up, but it's somewhere in the order of like 50 feet just to allow the grading to, get a level road in there that's wide enough for the MWRA vehicles. I'll speak about that more in a sec, but the challenge, I think, is we're trying to coordinate with this property owner to establish a way for MWRA to be able to get from the cul-de-sac at the end of this subdivision access road down to its easement that sort of cuts across what's a big open lawn area today and head east into that structure. So it's, two things. It's sort of using the roads that exist today and finding a way to get, maybe along a proposed property line that we looked at to get down to the MWRA's easement. Heading on in, which is where it's long, we don't need to do anything until we get into sort of the pathway that, heads in that last couple hundred feet. And that's where we want to build the road.
Do we have a conservation restriction or something, or they just didn't work within the 200-foot riverfront area? What, do you remember what the deal was with this development?
Yeah, so the 200-foot riverfront area, I believe, was all a conservation restriction.
So this must be within that conservation restriction.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean to us as far as having them put a road in there? Seems like that's not really what we were envisioning was gonna happen to that property.
This is true. Did Mr. Piersack bring that up to you at all in your discussions?
No, we just coordinated with him to get access to do our inspections and then to obtain, drawings showing what he has going on with this property, to understand if he's going to be restricting access to MDRA's easement at all.
Yeah, more so we wanted to make sure that he wasn't building on our easement. That was what we were more interested in, quite frankly. We wanted to make sure that his development was not impacting our easement and our ability to maintain our structures.
Right. A number of us walked that property. Maybe, I don't know, 2 years. I think felt like we were wearing masks at the time.
Yeah.
So we saw the sewer manholes.
Yeah, there's a juniper bush growing over many of them, but these last two here, meaning last two before the siphon structures, one has a juniper bush on it. Generally, the road we're proposing starts about 10 feet after that and heads up to the structures.
And when you say a road, what is that?
It's 13 feet wide of gravel, and it's pretty flat as it is. So we're trying to mimic existing grade as much as possible. The grading that we're doing really is pretty minor, but the road itself is sited out of the wetland, but we're up so close to it with the MDRA's easement that there's, just a few feet buffer, say, off the edge of the road where we're tying back into grade. And we're doing that for 54 square feet within wetland. So we're calling that permanent alteration because we're tying the road into existing grade for 54 square feet within the wetland. I mean, we're going to revegetate it with wetland seed mix, but that 13-foot road is outside of the wetland. It will be gravel.
So you have a number of trees and shrubs you're going to be taking down?
No, not on this site. This site is already
I think we walked down. Well, yeah, I kind of remember. I think we used that it was kind of a path that we walked down it. And
Yes.
Yes, it's a fairly clear open area. It's at the base of that swimming pool that you can see a little bit to the north of that. It's down the bottom of the hill, and it's a flat area that runs essentially straight out to our structure.
And why do you need
level.
a whole road? Why do you
Okay,
need
so
a gravel road?
this site corresponds to a couple structures across the river that aren't very accessible to the MDRA. They are on a residential property, much like this, but within a developed lawn, rolling lawn kind of area, and the property owner has restrictions for MDRA to get to those structures. So this was identified as an important site for operations because they want to at least have the Vector truck get ease of access to one side in all cases. And so this was identified as, particularly with the subdivision going on, if we can facilitate a nice sway from that subdivision road down, it gives the MDRA ability to access this side of the river much easier than the one in the west, the Dedham side.
And Mr. Piersack, I understood that you were going to come from his cul-de-sac and put a road down the side of somebody's property.
Well, we've talked about the needs for access. We haven't laid out a specific plan with Mr. Piersack because we're still kind of interpreting all the property lines that they're laying out. What we're seeing right now is there's a home sort of where the J in William J is, and there's a property line that sort of follows in a fence that's already been put in, a stockade fence that sort of follows to the west of that. And so there's an easement that they established along that fence for drainage because they have a detention pond down southwest of the property. So our strategy would be to get approval to establish an easement within that drainage easement. So MDRA could, drive down the side of that property in the future and get into its easement that goes sort of east-west.
Okay.
But yeah, again, that's something, these details of the property owners are the next step for the authority.
Anybody else have any question or comment along about this? Okay, next.
Yeah, sure. This site is the trustees of the reservations, the peninsula, off Fisher Street. And so what we're proposing to do is not build a road here. We would just seek construction phase access, and the MWA would use the same method for future maintenance to come off Fisher Street, use the driveway for the parking area, use a gravel path that exists along the green line, and then turn into its structure off that path, which when we visited it was a lot narrower. There's a utility pole project clearly going on right now by NSTAR or the National Grid, and they've laid down some heavier crushed stone and widened the path a bit, and then they've cleared out the area where we turn into our structure. So I don't know what the plans are for restoration there, but right now MWA wouldn't need to do anything to this site to get the access it needs to perform the work at its structure.
So right when you turn at the end there, I've walked that area regularly. It is very wet. There's like a little boardwalk or something. I think it's at the turn. No, it's not. It's
No,
not
I
too
mean,
wet
if you
for a truck?
check it out, you know where the sign, you know where the signpost is?
I don't think
Hold
that's where
on,
the.
Allison's been there a lot. Allison?
Yeah, I live right near here. I think that, I think that's more in the, once you get into the,
Oh,
Mid-
okay.
I don't think that's where that is. And
Okay.
they are doing a huge project and I don't know what the restoration is.
Yeah, I know.
But there always was a path there that was.
Yeah, there's a path there.
It was
Yeah.
always,
Okay.
yeah, Allison, it was always smaller crushed stone path
Yes.
until you get to the sign. And then, heading on into the
Keeps
former
going,
landfill,
yeah.
it gets, vegetation. So we're keeping our operations to within the
Yeah.
path.
I think it's
But,
okay.
Yeah. There's
All
enough
right.
cleared space and it's dry enough. Yeah,
Okay.
we don't
That
have
one's not
concerns
bad.
about this one. All right, here's the last site. It's across the street in the Village Falls Park. We're in the process of coordinating with DCR on all the DCR sites in this project. There are probably like 13. This is one of the DCR owned properties.
Sorry,
South-
when you said across the street,
Oh, sorry, across South Street.
Bridge, the little bridge.
Ah,
On the
oh,
east
okay,
side. There's a little
okay,
park
okay.
there. A little park there.
Right near Allison's house. Okay.
Yeah,
Right near my house.
beautiful little park called Village Falls Park. It has a little parking lot. So just south of the parking lot, north of the sort of ornamental stone bridge, there's a park gate and an entrance for DCR maintenance. We would propose, MWA is seeking to make that its maintenance entrance too. Not do anything. This is just an access corridor designated, to stay within a cleared park area. Recently checked it out and there's plenty of space to stay away from trees. The lawn is sloped adequately for vehicles to get across. It's when you get to sort of this jog, this right angle is where there's more of a walking trail today.
Problem.
And so,
Yeah.
yes, we cannot get vehicles down to this structure. So this is one we're proposing a gravel access road for the last about 200 feet. So no impacts to anything up to that point, but now we want to build a gravel access road to within about 20 feet of the structure. We'd stop there because the grade drops off pretty quick. So personnel from MWA would just have to, pull hoses the rest of the way.
How wide is this road going to be?
It's 13 feet.
And there's no restoration afterwards? You leave it that way forever?
Well, we would leave it to be a gravel surface so that it doesn't get grown over, and so that MWA can use it for vehicles in the future.
I mean, this is going to disturb an area right by the water. I mean, there's no question about it.
Well, they're all right by the water.
I know, but I mean, this will really rip it up. And it'll make something that right now is just very, pastoral and woodland and Charles Rivery into a road. So I'm just saying, that's all.
Right. No, we do intend to restore any disturbed ground outside the limits of the road with a wetland seed mix or an upland seed mix, depending on what the nature of the, resource area we're in. But yes, there will
Can you
be
wiggle the
a,
road a little bit? Can you make the road look a little wiggly? Like a little bit natural and not just, like you get your tangents and your perfect, you know what I'm saying? Just make it a little like,
yeah.
Soften up a little bit.
Well, I think it will naturally, once again, I'm sure it'll naturally take its course along the gravel, such that that 13 feet will be the extent of the width of that roadway. And like I say, I think in its gravel state, it'll look more like a pathway to walk on, a trail, more so than anything else. I understand it's not pastoral, perhaps, but it's it is a walkway that provides access.
I'm talking about the horizontal alignment. That's all.
Yeah, actually, this is following the walking trail. What we are doing is cutting this corner. It doesn't actually do the right angle because you can see it goes on a private property. We just drew this line when we first walked out there because there was a cleared path. What we're doing, and I can just.
That's the Signoris. That's Brookline Ice and Coal.
Oh, is that Brookline Ice and Coal? So let me just mark up sort of how we're proposing to more go like this with that red line that I just drew, because in all these cases we're choosing the routes to do a couple things. We're trying to avoid trees, we're trying to minimize grading. Really, those are the two primary objectives. So this route I drew here is about the final alignment for those two purposes. We're following an existing slope down the hill and then stopping short of the structure. So that's what it looks like. But this being another important one that operations, is interested in getting the Vector truck to. We're proposing a road only again for the portion that we need it. The rest of the park is quite accessible by vehicle.
How are you preventing when you have a slope from having the road start to erode with stormwater runoff?
No, yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we're enveloping this whole thing in silt sock for construction phase, but then for restoration, with our specifications require stabilization methods like jute netting while the seed germinates, and the contractor has maintenance obligations to restore any loam that's eroded, during rainfalls, reseed until it germinates. So they have like a 12-month maintenance period where they own the seed restoration on either side of the road until it's accepted by the MDRA.
How steep is this road?
Yeah, the grade, let me fast forward here. Yeah, the grade on this one's 11% or 12%.
Yeah, that's really, it's just gonna make a mess.
Yeah,
So
it's
can you put some like water bars or something so that it doesn't just take all the stones and start gullying right down? I mean, 11%, it's all the water is gonna just fly down that road.
It will. I mean, it's a fairly well wooded area with a lot of leaf litter, and at least outside of this area,
you're putting a road in the middle of the whole thing,
Yeah.
a dirt road that's gonna just, so I'm just, there's ways to prevent the water from just making gullies and then getting all dry, because the river's right there.
Of course.
So it's just gonna.
We can certainly look at the one good thing is doing the gravel, even though it's compacted, it will have some infiltration capacity too, so I don't expect it all to sheet. And there's canopy, we're doing limited pruning and things like that. So there's some mitigation, just natural mitigation to a lot of runoff, but comment taken. We'll definitely see if we can't create a level spot, and we just might have to extend the grade.
Even just, you could have some water bars so that the trucks can still go over them.
Yep.
But if the water is coming down, it can be pushed into the wooded area and not just allowed to continue
to sheet
I mean,
flow.
I've
Sure.
walked enough trails where, they're just walking trails and,
Yeah.
they just gully with these heavy rains that we're having. That's just,
I have a question, Janet. Mike, if we were to grant you this maintenance, I guess, access, I mean, would you be agreeable to, staking out the road or with flagging or whatever and letting our representatives, Clay or Deb, walk the site before you start any clearing to sort of kind of, I guess, give their blessing that you've avoided trees and that?
Well, we can even take a site visit now and get a better feel for where we're at prior to us obtaining that permanent easement. I mean, I think that'd be helpful if a site visit today would offer you a better vision of the future.
well, it'd
And-
probably be, well, maybe not with the
And what
snow on top,
Stephen's
but
requesting, Milan, too, we do, have the ability to lay this out, of course, during that mobilization phase, and like we're doing with Natick, sort of coordinate for, just for any adjustments or, if there's any, I guess, Milan, maybe the one concern is if we wait till then too, I know you'll be seeking an easement, right? So,
Yes.
we certainly don't want to move anything after the easement's been granted by DCR. So maybe.
Yeah, that's the concern. Is that once we're going towards construction, we've already had an easement in place. So veering outside of that easement, as a legal documented taking, we won't have that flexibility at that time. So I think that's why it's better to take a look at it now and get some comment from you if you feel that a jog to the left or jog to the right makes sense.
Yeah.
yeah. And how wide will this easement be that you're getting from DCR?
Well, it's not a utility easement. So, I mean, I won't speak for MWA's real property group that does this kind of coordination routinely, but there's not a need for substantial additional width on either side. If it's a 13-foot wide road, 15 seems fine. No more than, I can't imagine why you go more than 20.
No more than, exactly. We vary in different areas, but certainly nothing more than 20. I mean, like you said, it's not a utility corridor, so we're not looking for a wide swath to place, a large diameter sewer or water main. So we'd keep it to a minimum. In this case, probably go with 15.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
What kind of restrictions would we have, Janet? Like you're concerned about, and I share the same concern about the steepness of, especially this one right here. And say, for instance, there was a heavy rainstorm in the springtime. There was a huge washout. I mean, what kind of jurisdiction do we have to say, okay, the MWA is going to get out there and fix this? Do we have any recourse at all, or no?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Michael or Milan, do you have?
Well, when you say what if you find that the road is eroding more so than you anticipated, that kind of
Well, we're really
question.
worried more about a big washout because it wasn't compacted well, or it wasn't really thought about, and so I'm sure we've all seen large gullying of walking paths and dirt roads that all of a sudden you get that crazy rain event that we've been having, and it just takes the whole thing down.
Yeah.
So
in this case,
Right,
it's
well,
So
all
I
going
think
back
the
towards
question
river.
is, since it's a utility, which is usually exempt,
right.
Yes.
what recourse do we have? And
If it all washes into the river, which is really our
Well, I
concern.
will
think
say-
the part. I'm sorry, I was going to say, as part of the the reasoning of getting these paths and roadways in is obviously for future maintenance. So we would want to maintain those roads properly. And like I said, the fact that we were going to remiss and not clearing our easements as well as we should be. This project is going a long way toward making sure that whatever we do construct that's permanent, that will be taken care of in perpetuity. So it's not something like, you'd find that roadway washed out and left that way and perpetually getting worse over time. And it's something that would be corrected. Certainly if our crews hadn't noticed it in a timely way, then, if the town certainly saw that there was a problem, we'd rectify that. The authority stands by any of its work, and ensures that the contractor certainly would construct it properly to begin with.
One good thing too is we're stopping the road 30 feet short of the wetland limit, really just due to the existing topography. If you walk out there and look at the MWA structure, there's a natural gully, probably from when it was built and just the landform was sort of left, not natural. But there's a gully where it says Station 5 plus 89, and so we decided there's no reason to go down that steep drop, and so we're stopping it there. So there's sort of an area, and I'm not saying we'll still look into how to minimize runoff, because that's just mutually beneficial. Like MWA doesn't want to have to be filling ruts all the time on its road. So as the engineer,
exactly.
I'll look into that. But anything that did come off it would get caught up in before the structure, and then you're still got like 30 feet of buffer before you're at the wetland, and it's a lot of leaf litter, again, like a lot of just dense wood type vegetation. So it's going to be a good restrictor against something like that from creating damage in the wetland or the river.
I have a weird question. What does that structure look like in the surface?
Yeah, so it's buried, it's sort of mounded. You see the concrete top slab that's exposed. It's pretty big. You can't miss it. It's got these concrete planks that MWA personnel have to lift. They're quite heavy. They have to lift from both sides and remove them one at a time. So that was the way they did it back then. And so you'll see all these planks with these gaps in them. So of course, flood inundation into the structure is a concern. So what we're coming back with these precast slabs, placing them on the top. They'll have a cutout in them for a modern access hatch that will be placed on the cutout, and that's going to be watertight, flood resistant. It's going to be great for the staff when they just can pop it open and do their maintenance without having to lift these heavy concrete logs or planks out of the way. But to answer your question, yeah, it's just a concrete.
Is it vandal resistant? The reason I say is because that parking lot has some pretty sketchy people parking in it.
I saw that. Yeah, someone put a.
You're making an access now down to a place that is invisible, where people will go down there and drink and do weird stuff. Sorry,
the access hatch will be locked.
It's not. You can't
vandalize. Need them? They do weird stuff in Needham.
Oh yeah.
You can't get into it today because without the right tools, without the right pry bars and lifting those, no one would try to lift those to get into a wastewater structure. But the access hatch, to answer your question, will be locked. All the ones MWA has used thus far on similar projects have been locked. So that will help.
Yeah. So the structure itself, though, just so I think it's approximately 12 by 12. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah. I'll measure it now, but that's pretty close.
So that's all you see is basically the surface of the structure. And like I said, as we said, we'll be putting locking covers on all of these for flood protection and for security. So nobody will be able to access into the facility, into the chamber.
Yeah, and watertight is just flood resiliency. It's a key aspect of the work for the ones that have these planks.
And it also needs to be noted there are a couple of trees there that will need to be removed. One is impacting the structure greatly with its root structure, and that is a must. And like I say, being our maintenance of that has been remiss, and that tree should have never grown to that size. But those roots definitely impact a structure like that, and we hate to lose the structure because of the root system.
It must be one of the biggest Ravinia I've ever.
If you go down there, it is literally like 3 feet off the backside of the structure, and you can see its roots wrap around the corners of the structure right now and sort of down into the mound that it was kind of built up around it. It's amazing that it's there. And that, because of the roots, we don't want to touch any subsurface part. We have to just cut it close to grade, and that's it. Leave the rest.
Right. We're afraid that the roots will impact the structure if we try to remove them. So, as Mike says, we're going to leave the roots in place.
Yeah. We had worked with our sub-consultant arborist to our company to kind of go out and assess that and other trees at other sites.
Okay,
You should cut it down and sell it to someone to make furniture. They make furniture out of rubinia now. It's curious.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad. That'll be the spoils of the contractor.
I'm not, I mean,
Salvage
I know you think I'm kidding, but I'm not really kidding. That's a huge.
No, it's true. It's true. No, you're right. You're right.
take a few nice benches. Okay, anything else? Are you done with your
That could co-
presentation?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
that's
that
it. Like
covers
I
all
said,
the
we
locations.
met with the DCR last week. We're continuing to coordinate with them just on, getting the access for these routes, to be able to allow that future maintenance. So that's ongoing, but these are the 4 sites.
And what's your timing?
We're looking for construction to commence early summer. What we see right now is going through we're at the 90%, 100% of the structural component design of the project and what that entails. But right now we're looking to, obtain, the permitting process as well as the finalization of going forth with easement obtainment. So that's really what's taking the time prior to letting the contract. But we look at construction taking 18 months for the second half of this calendar year and all of 2022 or 23. But that being said, means and methods are left up to the contractor as to when he'll be going to which facility. As we said, there are 41 structures being as part of this larger contract. So, we're not sure exactly how he's going to do that, but we're not stipulating that he geographically takes care of something prior to another. So it's somewhere within an 18-month time frame beginning this summer.
Yeah, we do expect that they'll probably assess the wetter sites and, preserve those for dry periods and sort of try to also geographically align the work so they're not, zigzagging around, Metro West. But as I mentioned earlier, no single site should really take them more than 4 weeks. Just the work is straightforward, both the site and the structure work. It's just how they decide to align certain trades and other things that make the job efficient for them.
So once again, we'd be welcome to take you out to any of these sites if you'd like to take a look at them more closely, or prior to us moving forward with acquisition of these easements. And otherwise, we're just seeking an exemption here under our enabling legislation that the authority has.
And you've been in touch with Natural Habitat?
Oh yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, so we had done initial coordination with Natural Heritage on the nature of the habitat here. They did tell us that it's a waterborne, water-based mussel. And since we're not doing any work in water, actually, in fact, we're trying to stay away from as much as possible. In this structure, we're, 30, 50 feet away. They said, go ahead and do the checklist, submit to us, but we don't expect an issue because of that, but we're still waiting to hear. So it got submitted. We're still, waiting for an official response.
So you're looking for us to vote? Is this a vote that we take for an exemption on? I'm like kind of confused. We're voting on an exemption.
I don't think we need to vote. I think essentially they just needed to notify us. And so I asked them because, of all the different areas, to come and give a presentation so that if you did have questions, that you had a chance to ask them.
I think we would like to be notified before you get into, you start your work in each of these areas. If we could be notified prior.
Most definitely. Yes, once we let the contract and get a contractor on board after we award it, we will. The first thing we do is we get a schedule from the contractor, and then we'll be able to notify you approximately when construction is taking place at each facility, and we'll keep in touch, obviously, with you and other town representatives to make sure that when activities are upcoming.
And Janet, if you would like, with Bill Piersack's property and the conservation restriction. I can run it by town council. If you want, just to see if there's, any issues as far as that goes.
Yeah, I know that when we walked the Piersack property, at one point we were trying to figure out if there was an opportunity for a canoe launch or a canoe landing, something like that. I don't know if this is going to actually change that, because now it'll be easier to get to and for everybody, not just MWRA. So I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of a whole different topic.
Yeah, if you do go down that path in terms of a location for it, I'm sure, Milan, you would agree, like something away from the structures, if there's a logical spot, on that property, which has so much riverfront, but sort of nothing to sort of lead folks down towards those structures at the end of that clearing would be better.
I mean, I think it'd be good to know, Deb, and it would be nice. We would appreciate if you could walk that steep area that we were just looking at, your fourth one, with either Deb or Clay as you're kind of finalizing your easement location, so we are comfortable that you're disturbing as little as possible.
Yes, and now hopefully would take place. We'd be amenable to doing that if you're available within the next week or two, so we can move forth. So the sooner the better, and if we can get a date together, that we'll be very happy to take you out there, take a look at it.
Okay.
Well, we might get 2 feet of snow this weekend, so.
No, that's a good point.
But it's supposed to be in the 50s, like on Thursday next week. So
it will be gone. Don't worry, it will melt.
We'll see how the water goes down that slope for sure.
The first opportunity that we have that the ground's visible, yeah, we can do it.
Okay. We can set something up with Clay and myself.
And so, yeah, Janet, getting back to what you said, yeah, with the other communities, as far as the exemption, they've sort of requested the same thing, that we notify them when, construction is sort of imminent, maybe when we're bidding, as Milan said, we kind of let you know.
But we have also, just know that it runs the gamut. We've had a half dozen communities that haven't even asked for us for an informational, as we're doing with you this evening. They just granted the exemption immediately, but certainly, we welcome the opportunity to inform the commission and the community as to what we're doing. So this is helpful and useful, I think, for everyone, and both parties, I think, gain from it. So, and like I said, we're welcome. We're very happy to take you out. Well, we're happy to take you out in the field too, just to get a better feel and comfort with the project.
Yeah, and we appreciate that your utility that is obviously an important one. As take all our wastewater to Deer Island.
Exactly.
But yeah, we would prefer that not to be in the Charles River. So this is better than that. But we do appreciate you coming and explaining all this to us, and we are protective of our areas. So we do our thank you for respecting our position.
Well, we appreciate that, and yes, we do, and we look forward to working with you throughout the project.
Great, thank you.
Thanks
Anything
for your
else
time.
from anybody? I think we're good. Thanks.
All right, good luck tomorrow. Don't hurt your lower backs.
Exactly. Well, it's coming up quickly. Yeah. But like I said, we'll keep in touch as far as getting a date that works for everyone to get out in the field, and then we'll go from there. But we trust we're obviously getting an exemption from you. Is that what we can assume?
Yes, that's what you can assume.
Right.
Very good. Okay.
So
thank you very much for your time.
We'll get in touch with you Monday.
Okay.
Okay, and set
Very
something
good.
up.
All right, great. Thank you.
We appreciate your time, and thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Do we have a right to not give them an exemption? I
No,
didn't think so.
no.
It's nice to hear from them.
It's less of not of denying them exemption and more of saying that you don't feel it falls under those exemption criteria.
Oh.
So if they were proposing to build new structures and
Mm.
expand greatly and whatnot, you could say, wow, I don't think this meets the intention of the utility exemptions.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
and I did ask them to contact town manager's office, because once they start going on private property and start ripping down stuff that,
Mhm.
so hopefully someone up there actually read what was sent to them. I don't know. We
And then
tried.
once you start seeing it, and it's like, oh, go
Yeah.
through that person.
I know Clay and I were looking at it and I'm like, you need to present this to the commission. I don't feel comfortable saying, sure, go ahead.
Okay, let's move on to DPW general maintenance. What do
So
we know about
this
that?
is just, we've approved this before under the DPW general permit. Essentially, the parking lot at Horsford Pond tends to get big ruts in it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So,
That's the
and
one
then,
there across from the dump, right?
yeah, so Eddie Olson gets complaints, and when he gets enough of them, he asks if he can go and fill in the ruts with the gravel. So we did have him fill out the notification form. We've never had any issues with it. They're literally just filling, yeah, there we are. The little
Yeah.
speed bumps in. So I said he didn't need to come, and assume that you were fine with this.
Do we need to vote on this? Or do we just-
Yeah,
this is-
yeah, you can vote.
Okay, so we need a motion to allow the general maintenance at the parking lot of Horsford Pond.
Fine, yep, that's fine.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Allison?
I,
Peter?
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Janet, aye. Okay, done. Now we have Needham Trails Advisory Committee discussion.
Do we want to continue the first two hearings before?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about them. Sure. And do we need to have this Needham Trails Advisory Committee tonight discussion?
No, it's not so much of a discussion. It's just, we told you, I think a while ago, Clay and I are working with Park and Rec to try to get the Trails Committee and the Trail Steward Program up and running again.
Oh, good.
And upon reading the guidelines, it looks like there should be a member from the boards
Okay.
that have part of this. So we just wanted to bring up to think about if someone would be willing to help us by being on the committee.
How often do they meet? Is it a once a month thing?
The advisory or the master trails plan calls out quarterly or as is timely. So we would expect probably
So
quarterly.
the idea is to get the committee up and running and then have them help with the stewards, since we usually don't have time in our two departments during the summer as much. So that's kind of the first thing we want to do, is get the committee going.
Does
So-
anybody want to be on this committee? I mean, Peter, you're in?
Peter, yay.
Yay, Peter.
Okay, more
All right.
information to come. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much,
So
Peter.
that's that.
Okay, so we want to continue 631 South Street, DP file number 234872 till February 10th? Is that when they want to come back?
Yep.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Allison?
I,
Peter?
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Steve? Sharon,
Aye.
aye. Thank you. Okay, we need a motion to continue 649 South Street, DP file number 234874 till February 10th.
Hey, which one was, one of them's for the 24th.
Right, these are the two South Street tree
Oh,
removal.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot you were doing them separately.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Allison?
I,
Peter?
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Okay, now we have the South Street and Dedham Ave Boathouse access. When do they want to come back?
They want to come back for the 24th.
For February 24th, DP file number 234878.
Hey, hey, Janet, did you just say boathouse?
Oh, sorry,
access?
boat
Okay.
access.
I
Sorry.
just want
South
to
Street-
make sure, because
Technicalities.
if neighbors heard that, oh, now it's a house.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay, so South Street and Dedham Ave
Oh my
boat
God.
access. DP file number 234878 to be continued to February 24th, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Allison,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
yeah, aye. Okay, we did all those three things. 1, 2, 3. Now we have, are we up to adoption of?
If
the
we can,
Nor-
if you don't mind holding off till the next meeting on that, I have a couple
Sure.
questions that I want to get answered
Okay.
before we vote on that.
Okay, so we're
Is that
ready
okay?
for meeting minutes? We had some meeting minutes, I think, sent along. Was Sue able to give you any comment on those?
Yeah. Sue
Perfect.
had no comment. No,
He
no.
said they were perfect.
He's the golden
Uh,
child, I tell you.
Yeah. What was the
Here.
date of the meeting minutes?
Those were July 22nd, 2021.
22nd, 2020.
It's like 5 years ago.
Kind of, Sue's got a pretty good memory. She knows what it about 6 months ago.
Longest year ever.
Any discussion regarding the meeting minutes from July 22nd, 2021?
It was
Can I
probably a
have
lot warmer then.
Did I have a motion to approve them? Sue read them.
I move to
Indeed.
approve the meeting minutes of July 26th,
22nd.
22nd, 2021.
Seconded.
All in favor, Allison,
Aye.
Peter,
Abstain. I don't think I was there.
okay, Artie,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Janet, I think I was there. Do we have any enforcement or violation updates?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. Do we have anything else to discuss?
Well,
The-
I did want, oh, I'm sorry, Clay.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've been working with the Eagle Scout candidate to install a small canoe access for St. Sebastian School. Currently, the proposal is pretty minor in nature. There's already an area of the slope that going down to the river that's pretty mild and relatively free of vegetation, but he is going to be proposing to place in a couple flat stones, not like a concrete pad, but just something to stabilize that area should canoes be dragged up and down the slope with no alterations to bank. Unfortunately, it's not one of our Needham trails. So it doesn't look like he'll be able to go through on the notification form that they usually apply under. So unless anybody has another creative solution, it seems that we might have to have them submit the notice of intent because it is a bit of vegetation clearing and replanting and site work within riverfront area and within the 25-foot. I believe that the work is primarily remaining outside of borderland subject to flooding, and he will not be altering the bank, but it is pretty much a launch right down to the river.
I assume that he has permission from St. Sebastian's.
Yes. He's
Whatever it's called.
working directly with the school, and one of the consultants, one of the architects that was doing the St. Sebastian permitting is also assisting him with this. So he may have access to some of the plans that they did up before. I don't know that he will pursue a brand new wetland delineation, but rather request to rely on some of the old ones, given the minor nature of the work.
I know at one section over there was a lot of poison ivy.
Yeah, because they couldn't find a landscaper willing to go in there. So they had to move the trees further down the river.
Yeah, they had to move the trees. 'cause
Yeah,
of the
they did.
poison.
He's proposing to go in as well, right between a large stand of knotweed and a large stand of bittersweet. I don't think that his proposal is going to to remove all of both, but I do believe that he will have some, cutting back of specifically those invasive species while leaving the native things along the area and then replanting other things to at least give a little bit of a buffer before you run into those going down.
I think you said this is an Eagle Scout project, right?
That's correct.
And part of their projects are to go through the permitting. So it's not such a hardship, does it?
So could we give them a break on the filing fees?
Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah. Why
But
not?
not the state filing fees, just the.
We can't
town
do anything
filing.
about state, just our bylaw.
Well, how much is the filing fee for our bylaw?
For this type of activity, I think it's $50. And then, of course, you would have to request a waiver for work within the 25 foot. So
Here's 1,000.
I do think as a policy, it's probably, I mean, the Eagle Scout projects are usually great. And it would almost think as a policy, we should be waiving those fees.
Mhm.
But I don't know if we can do that as a policy, but
He's
personally,
gonna
I
have
would
to come up with money for a butter notification and stuff since it's a notice of
But does he
intent.
have to notify like every abutter to the school property? Or is it one of those that it's 300 feet from the limit of work? Isn't there a?
I will confirm that. Yeah, for the linear and large, like over a certain size project, I believe it branches off of the distance from the project location versus the whole parcel.
Yeah, so it might be easier.
I just want to ask a question. Not that it's going to alter our decision on what we do, but this is not a public access. This is a private thing for the school itself, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. Is that true?
Yeah, I asked him about whether it would be public or not. I think the school is concerned about taking the liability on to make it public. I don't know that they would necessarily restrict people from finding their own way down there, but it is into the campus. It's not immediately available, say, from the street.
And I know he was gonna build some canoe racks also adjacent to it for the canoe for St. Sebastian's.
And those racks would be non-permanent. They'd be able to be moved. They'd just be wooden frames, and they're up in existing lawn adjacent to the existing tennis courts.
All right, so you're going with NOI?
I think it's right there. I mean, if this was a private homeowner, we would definitely say that they needed to do an NOI.
Really? Just a little while ago, you were going with RDA.
That was very
Don't
different.
give her a hard time about that. She feels bad enough as it is.
That was very different.
It was just a complete opposite.
No.
Wow, Deb bringing the hammer.
Sorry.
You were standing right with me when
telling you.
he was like, if I bring this, are you gonna grant me an RDA? And I'm like, I think we can.
Geez, have you done all kinds of stuff that we had no idea about that were in our jurisdiction that we need to watch you because you don't do what you're supposed to do?
But Janet, you said, I think we can. That's not the same thing as we will. I think.
Well, because I couldn't speak for the entire commission.
Because they didn't do their due diligence is not our fault.
Yeah. Nope.
You're right.
Also,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up.
It was the way,
No.
it was the way, the attitude. It's like it's just like, we're gonna do whatever we want to do and you guys are wrong and
Yeah.
that's not a way to approach a commission. It just isn't
And
the
I can
way.
put a foot of dirt by a tree and it's not gonna bother it.
That's why I was disappointed when he says you can fill a foot or two over trees. They're fine because it's a certain percentage. I'm like,
Yeah.
what world do you live in? I don't think
It's
some book he read that somewhere.
Goddard world.
We are
Um,
still on the record. We are still on.
That's
We
okay.
are.
That's but
We are.
Stephen, I think
We
that
are
was a good, I
being
think,
recorded.
yeah,
I
Stephen,
know, but
I think that was a good reminder, Stephen, that what happens when they build something, then they come back later on. Oh, I'm sorry, these trees are hazard trees.
They're all
now."
dead.
I think that was a very good reminder of what happens in the past
Yeah.
and how
So
that
the
affects
last
our
thing
decision.
is Clay and I spent 2.5 hours in the freezing cold at the Ridge Hill Mansion today, going through all of the old documents in our room up there, which is very fun, very fun.
I'm
all
sure. it's-
kinds of it. Yeah, we found actual DEP files up there
Any
and
checks, any money?
yeah, we found checkbooks from, like, oh my God, there is so much stuff up there. So anyways, we were doing that today. Just want to let you know.
So talking about that, can I tell you one quick funny story? So
Yes.
when in between agents, I think Winifred left before whoever was after. And so
Winifred
we were,
McGowan. Yeah.
yeah, we were trying to like fill in, and there was somebody was helping that was like she also worked at the town hall. I forget her name.
Not
But-
Kristen Phelps.
No, Christian was after, like maybe this might have been in between. Anyway, there was like a few months in between. And so we
Mhm.
were all trying to help, and I didn't work that many hours, so I was able to kind of go in and work a few days in the conservation office. And so the woman that was like the helper secretary, she was like, okay, somebody's gonna come in, they're gonna give you this application, they're gonna give you a check, and you're gonna put it in this envelope, and you're gonna put this envelope that has the checks in it inside this file cabinet, and there it sits. And I was like, okay, in it goes in the file cabinet, it's in there, check in the, and then like 4 weeks later, she was like, so what's up? Like, well, you just and there they sat.
They were in the
Nobody
drawer.
ever did anything with them. I didn't know what to do with them. Once they went in the file cabinet, they were just in an
You were
envelope.
following directions.
I thought somebody came and took them out of the file cabinet. I didn't know. She like was
Every
on
once in
the
a while,
floor.
we'll find a filing fee check attached to some old DEP thing. It's always exciting.
Anyway, I'm glad I don't have your job. Needless to say, I did my month and that was it. All right, are we done? Are we done
I
now?
think so. I'm tired.
I am too. All right, 9:16, time for bed. All right, so we need a motion to
Oh.
adjourn.
Artie,
Right.
do you have anything to tell us?
I don't think it does yet.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, I'm running to be on the Needham Planning Board. So I'm running for election on Needham Planning Board. Yes. So.
He's gonna be very busy on both planning.
Well,
board
really
and
is.
I don't
conservation.
think I can be on both. I don't think, I think it may be time for someone.
You know, the rule is you have to find your replacement.
Well, it would be nice if, well, I mean, if I get elected, I mean, hopefully I do. I mean, it would be nice to.
I had to find out through Facebook, Artie. I'm crushed.
Well, I mean, I sent some messages to some people. I mean, there's only so
Not
much I want to.
me. I didn't make the list.
Do you live in Needham?
It feels like it sometimes.
Are you a voter?
but No,
Are you-
Yeah, well, if you're not a voter, I don't care. What
you don't
have to
care
say.
about me. I
I
know.
don't care what you have to say. That's not true. That's not true at all. Many of my old high school friends and so forth are not living in town and reaching out to their friends back in town. So it's not
All
true
right.
at all. But what would be nice is whatever happens in the future, whatever is happening on the Conservation Commission, no matter who's transitioning and so forth, and that is that for us to reach out, because Allison had mentioned of this, for us to reach out and find someone who we believe would serve the commission well, as opposed to, I think in the past, sometimes it's been, someone from the select board who starts to find appointees, and
Well, they put in an ad, which is
Yeah.
really how Sue and Bill came to us.
Yeah.
There was an ad, they answered the ad, we
Yeah.
interviewed lots of people. And those are the ones that those are the people we chose, and they've been great.
Yeah, no, and it's good. I mean, it's been fortunate that happened. That won't necessarily always be the case.
Right.
Someone that comes to us. I think it's good if we.
If you know anybody,
Yeah, well, again, I'm hoping I'll work very hard to get elected. Hopefully, I will. I hope
is there
so.
anybody running against you?
Oh yeah, there's two other people running, and they're both good people.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
are there? There's three people running?
Yeah,
I haven't heard any other
people running.
names.
Oh yeah, no, there's 3 people running. They're both good people, so it'll be an interesting race. I believe I'm the best candidate, the best overall rounded candidate for the position of what I bring in for the environmental aspect and the stewardship of our lands and things like that. But,
It's been a while.
but there's
Well,
a-
good
The
luck
time
if that's
comes-
what you really
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
When
see
the
what
time
happens.
comes, you can put a sign in my yard.
Yay.
You know
Thank
where
you.
it is. It's.
Yes, I do.
I really liked it when we
It-
had a
it's-
lawyer
What's that?
on the board, remember?
What's that?
We had a lawyer on the board.
I
I
know. we
thought that
do.
was really helpful.
I
Well,
couldn't.
Albert.
I agree.
An environmental lawyer would be awesome.
Could we find a lawyer?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Environmental lawyer. I don't
Find
know.
it, find your
Oh.
lawyer friend.
Well, don't kick me off yet. I mean,
Right. You have to win.
Yeah, you were like.
I
running
gotta
the-
win. I had to work very hard to win. you
We'll
know?
always know we were second choice. It's okay.
Oh, we were first
You'll
choice.
always
but he
have
got
a
bored
home
with
here.
us. Got bored.
just-
All right.
I'm just being a problem child. All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Talk to you
Did we do
later.
the motion to adjourn? Did we do
Snow,
that?
big snow.
So moved, so moved. Aye, 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 aye.
Aye. Everybody said
Catherine.
aye.
Aye,
Aye.
aye, 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 aye.
Anybody else?
Bye,
Hey,
Catherine.
I already said it. Steve seconded. We all said aye.
Bye, Bobby.
Don't
Thank
be
you
mad
very
at me,
much.
Janet,
Bye.
For what?
for being a
I'm
wise
gonna-
ass. I'm sorry.
No, I felt like I had